Welcome, everybody, to Culture Shock Podcast. This is your boy, Pat Bayless, and I'm back in the building with my cousin. You've seen him before. We talked deeply about his story, about being a cop and where he grew up and all of those things. Today is a little bit more of a heavier episode. Things we're really breaking down today are truthfully one of those things that there's so many layers to it, right? And the thing about today's episode is things aren't what they seem sometimes when you see it. And this is more of like a personal episode. Sharing our stories and sharing our beliefs, I think, on this pod is a beautiful thing. It's about faith, love, and friends. And we're gonna break down each dynamic throughout this episode. But before all of that, I just want to welcome Adam back again for another episode. What up, my brother?
Yeah, what's good? What's good?
What's the word? Everything good?
Everything good. Can't complain.
Good. So today I really wanted to touch on these levels, these layers. Me and you have known each other. If they haven't watched the last episode, me and you have known each other since about, 11 years old? 11, 12 years old?
Yeah, roughly. Before that, like 8, 9.
So 8, 9. So we've collectively seen each other go through different things, whether we've seen it, been there, or seen it from afar.
Yeah.
Right? So there's so many layers to this that we're going to break down and really, really question each other on, and also really dig deep into some things that people may not understand. I know for me, this episode is heavy because this is an episode that's been heavy on my mind. Because sometimes people think, like I was somewhere yesterday and there was a couple things that people were saying that didn't bother me, but it made me realize that people still have this idea of who I am or think that I still do these things and that's all it is, right? So I want to just dig deep first into just the whole thing of like friendship, right? To you, do you have, in general, do you have like people in your friend group or friends that in just past, in the past where you always seen them as being one way and meanwhile it was nothing what they were doing, behind closed doors?
Yes. It's kind of normal to categorize people, keep them in certain. Yeah, of course, because there's people that you generally normally categorize and keep them in certain aspects, like almost like how the term "stay in your lane" is. You wouldn't put them in a predicament or ask of them what you wouldn't expect because it'll kind of put you in a sense of amping yourself up for like disappointment. And not that you have to, a certain standard to hold with people. Is this if that person's been playing a sport their whole life, you're not gonna ask them questions about theater, even if that may be what they're doing. If you can't associate it with them, it's like you're kind of like cross-referencing it, and you're not digging for that. You're gonna keep them what you know them as. If they're a jokester, if they're into cars, if they're into photography, you kind of like would make them be a student of them in that realm, and kind of respect that kind of thing. So when it came to like friends, I wasn't really digging too much. It was more like how we gel, how we vibe. I wasn't like going into, hey, what's something that you're doing that I don't know about? Because that's a very awkward question to ask. Because if they answer it, they know you're about to judge them. No matter if you say no judgment here, you're going to, because it's just a natural response on how to really, what do you say? How to make it work for you to understand what they're trying to explain to you.
Right.
Yeah, so honestly, if I was to say friends that were into things that kind of caught me off guard, I don't look for that. If I find something out new, I'll be like, oh, I didn't know that, and that just expands it for me. That's like, all right, now I know that you got more to you that I can associate with. The conversations could escalate. They could like get better. They could evolve. They could we can learn more things together. Or maybe you could teach me something that I didn't know that I even like myself. And then we could open that way.
Yeah.
But as far as like being blown back and being like, oh man, I don't know the gel with that person because I didn't know about that. Nah, everybody walks these paths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in a way, going back to what you're saying, to me it's like they say birds of a feather stick together or fly together, whatever. Yeah. Right? So you have that saying, and then you have people that have these beliefs or these underlying beliefs that people don't want to look past, right? So a good example would be, truthfully, go to politics, right? There's a lot of people that had friends or had family or whatever, that politics or what they believe didn't really line up to what we believe, right? So I know for me, I could look past that because I still have love for the person. You know what I'm saying? I still have love for the person. I could look past those things. Unless it's something that's directly disrespectful, this, that, the third. But I could sit down and have those conversations. You have a lot of people that don't want to sit down once they hear something and have those conversations. So we are saying something about we could teach each other, we could learn, we could grow. A lot of people, I feel like nowadays, judge very fast and move on very fast. So you have friendships that are long lasting until they're not. You have friendships that are short. I'm sure you even see people, maybe in social media wise, they were friends with this person, now they're no longer around them. They're friends with this person. You see them jump in groups, and it almost becomes an idea of, is it an identity crisis, or who's wrong in that situation, right? Because it's like, it's an identity crisis or it's not. So to piggyback off what you're saying, you're more level-headed to the point where, okay, you're going to sit, you're going to listen, you're going to learn. If you learn something, whether it be something you may not agree with, you're willing to have that conversation. And you're also willing to learn if they're willing to teach you about something where you're interested, right? And I want to keep it in a friend group scenario of just being friends and just being able to be around. So another thing to get into when it comes to friends is you have people that believe you could get to the next level, but don't clap for you out loud.
Oh yeah,
you get what I'm
100%.
saying? So there's those friends that they don't want to see you do as good as they're doing. Like they don't. They want to see you do good. They're gonna clap for you, but when you really hustling or doing something, they not gonna allow a clap.
Oh yeah,
right? They're gonna pay attention. Do you feel like you see that forget about your career, but just do you feel like you see that within maybe your friend group or even just people around you, whether they be your friends or not, but you hear them good stuff, but when you really starting to pop off and do something, do you notice that they're nowhere to be found?
I think people are more so aligned with loyalty, and they'll chat and they'll defend you in your absence, but they're not going to update nobody about what you getting into. And that update sometimes is, hey, I'm relocating. Hey, not necessarily getting a promotion, but I'm taking a different avenue. I'm doing something I've always been passionate about. I finally have the time. I finally have the support, and I'm in the right mind space. This is what I really want to get into. And you're telling your friends, you're hyping it up, they're giving good feedback and saying, oh, that's great, that's good. But now when you're ready to take those steps and you're ready to be like, oh, I've designed these things. I have this inventory of such. This is what I'm really been working on. It's something that, or even if it's like a family recipe, you should try these out, try these things out. I feel like a lot of individuals won't say, oh, how's such and such, what you're doing lately, how's it going now? You know, they'll ask about your health, they'll ask about your family, but they won't. There's not a lot of friends that will just keep on hammering you like, yo, did you get that LLC yet? Did you buy that car yet? Did you link with such and such so you can get things moving? Like, what about this trip that we're supposed to go on for this business? Like, it seems not necessarily as a taboo, but people will only support you so far, and they're only going to believe what you're really showing them. Like, you can have this whole blueprint of everything, and they'll be like, man, that sounds amazing. But when they don't see you do nothing, they be like, oh, man, you just chatting. Like, you out here really good with this storytelling, but I don't see nothing. I'm not a believer yet. And they're not going to tell you that I'm not a believer yet, because that will kind of dead the friendship. I'd be like, oh, you don't support me, forget you, like, you a hater. And they kind of like don't want to ride on the coattails, but they want to support you from a standpoint. Like, yeah, you got these get money quick scheme kind of people, and they're like, oh, yo, I'm about to do this, and that. And you're like, all right, cool. I'm not telling nobody about this. I'm not going to update nobody about this because I haven't seen you produce. And it's hard to like really be in somebody's like business to be like, yo, keep it going, wake up early. We got to get this money. We got to get this exposure. We got to get this element, like, to keep it, like to keep on motivating you. Not a lot of people want to do that because it takes so much more of yourself to fight past disappointment, fight past like any kind of regrets of getting too involved and then looking silly that you're like, I wasted all this time and this person don't even want to do it no more.
Right.
So it's like you really have to have the element of like belief that person is serious, that's their passion, if you're like that supporting element kind of person, like if I got the bread and you got the vision and we commingle and I believe in what you said and you never steered me wrong, I'm like, we can make it work. We can figure out step by step how to make this work. I'm going to be with you on this. And when you get that kind of rush of support from somebody, you be like, oh, I could do it now. Now they start hitting you with mad knowledge that you had nothing, you don't know nothing about, but you're like, all right, this sounds right. I'm confident. You're bringing me something.
I think that's also where we get the saying of people that don't know us support us the most, right? I think that's something that in a certain aspect can be true, can be said to be true. But there is true family, friends, people that will support you. Like, will definitely support you throughout regardless, see what you're doing, see the vision, and continuously push. I think one of the hardest things, and I think we've all been there, is we've all been in a rut. We've all been in a trying time in our life where it's hard for us to clap for everybody that's going on trips and has the relationship that we would love to be in, even though it may not be that, but it looks like that. Being on a jet ski in Miami or doing those things and seeing somebody blow up. Like I know people that have podcasts all over the place that are doing great, and I think it's a blessing. But somebody that has jealousy or envy or any of that could look at that and be like, I ain't gonna support that. Like I want to be like that, so I ain't gonna support that. But I want them to support me, and I think that's unfair. I think that there has been times in my life where I was a hater, true hater of people that did that or like were, getting better because I wasn't doing nothing. I was standing still. My foot was in the mud.
I don't think you was ever a hater. Growing up seeing you, I've never seen you have that like outlook on somebody and then carry it home with you. On the spot where you're like, oh, somebody hit a jump shot in your face. Oh, he's lucky. That's whatever. That's a competitive spirit. But I've never seen you like on a ride home from the gym be like, man, I hate every time he shoots in my face. That guy is garbage. Like, I'm better than him. He just got lucky today. He always gets lucky. Never. I've never seen you hold it and carry it with you like a weight that's unnecessary. You're competitive. You're extremely competitive.
Right.
People saying, yo, Pat, I can walk up the stairs faster. He's like, I'm stretching already. I'm ready to do this. But I don't think it's ever been hate.
But how much of that competitiveness can also turn into your life? So this is why I break this down, right? And this is something I had a talk with my therapist about when I first really got into therapy. Yeah. There's a difference of being competitive, right? And wanting something but going to the extreme to get it in the wrong way. So you could be competitive to want to beat somebody out for a spot, to beat somebody that you're quote unquote going against, but really you have to learn you're not going against everybody. It's your race. And that's the thing, is that I think sometimes when you're competitive, I know it happened with me, is I began to look and say, this is everybody's race, and I'm trying to run the fastest. When at the end of the day, they might be successful at 25, where I wasn't. I might be successful at 32, 33, where somebody behind me wasn't. Or they might fade out early, right? That just happens. But you have to have that mental maturity. I think it comes within time. But I think you have to have that mental maturity to truly understand it's just your race. That's it. It's just your race. And I think the one thing about it is you continue to clap for others. You continue to really uplift others, because at the end of the day, yeah, you're going through something, but the more hate you give and the more animosity you have, the further you're going to get from healing. I truly believe that. The further you're going to get from healing. And that's why I want to piggyback into something right now where thoughts, right? Thoughts on you. And like you said, I never thought you was like that. I didn't see that. I never thought that. But then there is things that are product of us that we do and that people have seen. So just recently, this is a real story. Recently, I mean, everybody knows that has watched the podcast, right? Everybody knows that's ever seen my podcast. If you watch it from beginning to end, I've gone through co-hosts, right? I've gone through, people, all of them are my family, really, to be honest. Like, I'm being 100% honest. All of them are my family. I have the utmost respect. Over these past 2 years, in general, 3 years now, but over these past 2 years where I've really sought help to go through therapy, I've cut a lot. Not people, but I've cut a lot of ego, pride, and stuff. But I've also cut a lot out without learning how to fill it in. What I mean is where I used to be on top of everything, felt like I needed to explain everything, whether it be in relationship, family, friends, where I felt like I needed to explain everything. I got to a point where I didn't feel like I needed to explain anything. We'll get into relationships later, but within my friends and within the whole podcast thing, for me, I seen a different thing that I wanted to go and attack. And truthfully, people, I'm giving a little bit of people behind the scenes, but truthfully, I never gave them the right explanation. And that I feel sorry for and that I apologize for. I never gave them the right explanation on really what I wanted to go. It's never been about hate or animosity. I have no hate or animosity for anybody on this earth. I could be honest with you. I've been through, but I don't have any hate. But that's something that needed to be said and needed to be heard. And I needed to hear it. Like, Pat, you didn't give us this, or you're not doing this. Or, sometimes constructive criticism in that way is helpful. Have you ever been in that situation as a person? I know you want to comment on that.
Yeah.
But have you ever been in that situation as a person where you thought you gave enough explanation, or you thought you didn't really have to speak much on it because you felt like you put in so much work, but you really hurt somebody or didn't realize the effect that it had on them on the side?
So it's crazy that I hear a lot that people say, "Oh, you're good with words, you're good with like painting pictures, but you're not good at communicating." And the reason is like, you got to bring it out of me. I can't stem through every bit of information that I have within myself or whatever I'm going through to give everybody the same paragraph of what I feel like they should know. Out of respect, if a situation comes up and I have the information on tap, yeah, I'm going to give you as much as I can so you're not looking for answers. Because sometimes you're going to be curious about more than I have time for. And if I can't give it to you, you're going to think I'm withholding something. I'm not. I just don't got time to explain everything at that moment. I got to keep it moving. I got to do other things. There's other obligations in life. But it is true. I do have trouble with communicating because I can't remember everything. I can't keep it on cycle all the time. There's things that go through your mind. There's things that you go through in life that's just going to pretty much overtake what you've been wanting to get out and wanting to talk about. You kind of put things on the back burner or just in the back of your mind, just to like reserve for later for whatever of relevance comes up. I see a lot of individuals say, "Oh, you're quiet," and I'm like, I'm thinking, I'm observing, I'm adapting to my environment, and I'm within my comfort zone. I don't fear you. I don't have any problems with you. I'm just being a student. And then if my insight or wisdom or anything that I have can be offered and helped in that scenario, then it's available, then it's possible. But I need to keep learning first. I need to figure out where I'm at, who I'm with. Because if you give too much information to the wrong person, it could create a weird environment. It could create a void, or it could just create a connection that you weren't yourself ready to even like tap into. And now you have to either space yourself from this person, cut them off, or move differently. And then you get asked that question, what happened? It's not necessarily what happened. And sometimes it really could be yourself, not that person or that environment or that group. So when people, like when you were saying before, that I wanted to chime in on, I think they have to bring it out of you. It has to be of association, like I said earlier. If it's a lane of information that they want from you, like, oh, why aren't you talking about love? Or why aren't you talking about intimacy or complimenting or things that just come to mind that you want to express yourself? You really have to connect with that person or connect with that environment on a chemistry level. If it's not there, it's not their fault. They're just not bringing it out of you naturally. And you don't want to dig and falsify or reuse something, because then it's like recycled is not genuine. And you got to remember who you saying everything to. You know what I mean?
No, it's true. And I think recycling is something that people see over time. I think it's also, if this is your track record, this is who you have to be. It's like, people that watch sports, Draymond Green or somebody like a Dennis Rodman, if they're doing all these things and the one time they do slip by accident, they actually hit them in the side of the head, but by accident, truly, it's looked at a little different. So when your actions and your words don't match all the time, it's going to start to be read as this is that. And truthfully, I mean, people don't really understand. It was for me, I used to be, even with texting people, right? With texting people, I used to be on top of that. Like, I still text my peoples, but, girls, things of that nature, it's like I forget, not on purpose, but I don't have like I'm not stopping what I'm doing to text.
It's like a reputation becomes your code in a sense.
Exactly.
And then they hold you accountable. And you are truly apologizing, but then you're kind of stuck with that, oh, you never read my messages, you leave me on red, or you never respond. And I'll be like, I'm driving.
Yeah.
I'm eating. I'm taking a shower. And maybe I tapped the phone to see who it was because I was checking the time. I'm sorry. And they're like, oh, you always say that. I'm like, because that's always the situation.
Yeah. I think too, within healing, you still have you still struggle. And I think that's another thing is that it's a whole narrative and there's a whole thing on social media about struggle, right? There's clips about struggling. There's clips about, there's sermons with God and all of this stuff where we're trying to uplift people that are in a rut because there's legit people in a rut. Mm-hmm. But as people grow, they still stumble. You have to be okay with stumbling. Yeah. That's the thing as a person. You have to be okay with stumbling. For me, I stumble heavy still. Like I run, I see victories, I see small victories, now I see large victories. Being able to be alone, it's a large victory for me now. But then there is seasons, Christmas time, stuff like that, where I struggle with loneliness, like legit loneliness. I had a day, not too long ago, maybe about 2 months ago, where I woke up heavy, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I started to feel like regretful with stuff with my father, regretful with exes in my life, wanting or desiring stuff from my past, whether it be with my father or with people in my past, and wanting certain people back in my life and having like this heaviness of just, it was being lonely. At the end of the day, it was a loneliness feeling because when I've broken it down hundreds of times, when I tell you, man, I've broken it down hundreds of times. Yeah, I missed this, but this is why it didn't work. This is why it didn't work, right? Because you never forget that your wounds, they stay. They don't go away. And for me, I still struggle. Like, bro, there's not a day that I don't think about my dad. There's not a day that certain, like, not all my exes, but I would say certain people I've had that were heavy in my life or wanted to help me in my life. There's not certain days I don't think about them, right? Like, it's sad to say, but it's the truth when I'm saying this. I still feel like I've met my soulmate. People will look at that and be like, bro, you're crazy. Like, you didn't meet your soulmate. It wasn't what it seemed. It wasn't what it was. You didn't meet your soulmate. Like when it's presented, like, plenty of us say, when we're talking to our friends, bro, everything's in front of you that's showing you go move on. Everything is telling you move on. And then you got the people that are actually there where they're like, I can't move on. It's hard for me to move on. Now, is it a blessing? Is it a blessing in disguise that sometimes you move on? Correct. For sure. And that's where you gotta really differentiate that aspect of it. Is it was fun for that chapter, and you missed that chapter because that chapter brought you hope. It brought you your desires, but your flesh desires. So, like, as I'm telling you this, that's my flesh desire still talking, right? I'm, as you know, and as everybody else has known, I've been trying to do Bible study and been doing Bible study for 12 weeks. Me and Pastor Stephen did it, and I've been learning so much, but the struggle is still real. It's real as hell. And, for me, everything that I've accomplished in the past 2 years has been a blessing. The podcast, the way things have grown, the way I've grown, my mental maturity that I have to really sit down and understand is unbelievable. But then your feelings start to creep up. Your wounds start to creep up. And as they creep up, you don't want to push them down. That's the thing, is you don't want to push them down because then you never get to deal with it. So my thing is I just deal with it head on. But sometimes it becomes overbearing and could chew me up. And it makes me feel those feelings. Like I said, a minute ago, I still feel like my soulmate I've met. Like, I've seen and met all these girls after, and nothing has clicked yet. Now, at the end of the day, I got to believe in God's purpose. I got to believe in God's will for me. But I won't sit here a lot. There's still times where I fight myself not to text them. There's still times where I fight myself not to be like, man, like, What are they doing? Like that's the true feels that is what it is. And I also want to just address one more thing before we get into your side. You know, you've been around me long enough. I love women. I love women. Womenizers, no, but I love women. Always have. And people be like, yeah, Pat, you know, I've heard these narratives of Pat, he's going to mess with anything. He's going to do this. He going to do that. Fine, cool, have that narrative. Have I been in a lot of people's inboxes? Of course. But I don't like that narrative, but we're going to talk about that narrative a little later. But really what I'm getting at is people got to understand there's a flesh want and a desire sometimes that doesn't always be met. So I just want to give people a little bit of insight. When I was in my 20s, you know, they say as a kid you get home plate, first base, second base, third base, home plate.
Yeah.
I was getting a home plate. I was hitting home runs because I wanted to. My pursuit was that heavy. I was giving people what they wanted to hear. I gave you everything. Put the picket fence up for you and all of that. Because whatever I needed or wanted, I wanted to go get, and I'm going to get it.
You know how to run that race.
Now, it's one of those things where, I don't know, a lot of girls do this, but like they'll flirt with you just to get a flirt, and then that's it. Sometimes I start to chase, and it's almost like I don't want to say call them like a fish because that's disrespectful, but the idea of like you catch a fish and then you throw it back in the water.
Gotta reel them in.
Yeah. So I sometimes find myself now reeling in, and I'm like, whoa. And I'm fighting. It's pushing and pulling with God. Truthfully, pushing and pulling with God. Because I'm fighting the urges that I want. Like, I don't want to be lonely, so let me talk to this pretty female right here. I don't want to be lonely, so let me go on this date. But my intention isn't real. My intention isn't right. So let me just, let me not text them no more, let me push away. Let me not do this no more. And now these girls or whoever that know me or may know me close are like, well, Pat, you talking to this, that. Or you're talking to this person and they know this person and this, that. And it's cool. I understand the idea and the meaning of the scene, of what they're seeing. They have a legit argument, 100%. 100% legit argument. Wouldn't even say it against it because I would think that if I saw that. But I just need to clear that up. Not that I need to give people an explanation, but it's not exactly what they're thinking. At least what some people are thinking.
Socialized to pretty much fix that void within yourself.
Exactly. And it's unhealthy.
But there's no guidance other than the book that you pretty much sworn to or subscribe to or like.
But I also want to say there is guidance in a way of like my therapist. First of all, my therapist. Second of all, how I was brought up. And yeah, getting into the Bible, like those three things would tell you Pat's not going to do that. Pat's been taught and but there's habits, like real habits, deep-rooted habits that are extremely hard to push away. You know, you got people that are addicted to drinking. You got people that are addicted to drugs. You got people that are addicted to women. You have people that are addicted to porn or whatever the hell else. You have these addictions.
What's your addiction, Pat?
I don't want to say it's women, but I would say sometimes I can become addicted to the chase.
It could be the element. It doesn't necessarily have to be specifically women, but there could be something within that interaction that you're just addicted to replicating that small win or that big victory consciously. You're like, maybe you're like looking for something that hasn't been categorized, something in your mind that's just like, oh, I've been here before. I like where I'm at. And then after that moment of whatever time has passed, whatever has been done, you're like, I'm no longer in that window. I don't want this anymore. I got to find it again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think lust, right? We think of the word lust. And I think a lot of people, when they think of lust, they think of sex. When they think of lust, it's like people being lustful, they want to be sexual. Mm-hmm. Sometimes lust can just be talking to somebody in a way of seeing if you could get more than what is on the surface. So you can lust for people. There is that. Number of people in my life that I've lusted for that I thought I liked them. And then I realized after time, I was just lusting for you.
I think growing up, the best feeling in the world is knowing that you could rather than having to actually do it. And that's just, that goes steps back on the ego thing. That's like reaffirming yourself. I didn't have to do the physical part, but I know I could have had it. It's like a glory day that keeps on replaying, but amongst different challenges and different people.
Think about Aisha Curry. That's Steph Curry's wife.
Yeah.
There was a clip years and years and years ago where she was like, I still like to go out and feel like guys want to holler at me. Guys want me. Like, I still want that. She took heat big time for saying those things. But within males, it's still like that for us too.
Yeah.
We're not usually the ones that get, obviously sometimes for sure, people will come up, girls will come up, shoot their shot. But we're the ones that got to shoot our shot. And sometimes, as sad as it is to say, sometimes we want to see if we can still shoot, if our shot can still go in, if we can still, like you said, minor victories.
To receive that compliment back, that look back, that glare, that flirtatious, that advancement, like, hey, you started off with a hello, now here's my number. Or, hey, you started off with a hug, now they're kissing. It's like you want to know that, like, I still have somewhat of value, somebody's interested in me. Because as a kid, you going out, you're having fun, you're doing whatever, living life. You're not really caring about what you look like and what you're doing. But grandma gonna tell you, oh, you so handsome. And you're like, handsome? What's that mean? You look just like your dad or whatever. You're like, oh, okay, dad's doing good. People like him and stuff. Oh, you're so handsome. You start to hear this often. You're like, oh, I'm handsome. And then you start building this sense of pride. Like, oh, well, my grandma says I'm handsome. And then it was like, oh, my grandma says I'm handsome too. It's like, oh, you're handsome? Now we identify as handsome. Cool, we're going to keep on rolling with it. And then it's like, all right, now this is part of my identity. And then somebody who you don't know, who doesn't know anybody in your circle, is going to give you another compliment. Oh, you're beautiful, in her words, or you're fine, or whatever terminology you want to use. And you recognize that as, oh, she likes the way I look. Just like grandma said when I was younger, that identified that I'm going out into the world as an older person, and I'm still being recognized for this. And now it's like it feels good because it's a reminiscent of like where it started from. Like somebody showing me love, they don't have to. And then some people build up on it and they got to hear it all the time. Or some people forget. Be in a relationship for 8 years with somebody who just is not verbal. And they don't tell you things. They tell you, oh, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you. This is this. You should be appreciative because what I'm doing. And you're just like, I just want to hear it once a month, once a week.
It's a great point.
Damn, tell me I look good. Tell me I look good on me. Don't talk to me about what's wrong or what's different or how much weight I gained or if I got darker or lighter or if my skin ain't looking the same or I'm losing my hair, Like the things that I know I'm changing that I can't control that are the issues, my insecurities that are building up, like help me suppress those by talking to me.
Or addressing them.
Yeah, or address them and just like let me know that I'm still something of value. And then if y'all call it quits and you weren't hearing nothing good, that first person say, oh, he's kind of cute. And it's directed towards you, you can be like, well, damn.
Let's go.
This feels familiar. What's your name? I'm going to tell you everything you need to know because I want you to keep feeding me because it feel good. Because it hurt when I don't hear nothing. That stems off of you hearing that. You were saying earlier, you being alone, all these memories, all these things are hitting and crashing waves. There's no distractions whatsoever. So all the negatives that outweigh, the positives start to rise to the top, and then your silver lining gets thinner and thinner, and you're just like, well, damn, I need to figure something out. And then you go out to the club just to chill, and be like, damn, you fine? What's your name? You be like, you talking to me? Like, or what? Oh, I'm gonna do whatever you say. I'm gonna have this fun. You can't have me, but you can have me for right now.
And the problem is with that is it can set you back.
Oh, 100%.
As much as it's like, all right, it fits the ego, it fits the moment, it can set you back years. Because you don't know what can transpire from that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you don't know what can transpire from that. I've had that happen to me where I've made decisions that have set me back years. I also want to get into cheating and not loving the right way. For me, I'll tell you straight up, I never knew how to love somebody correctly. I just never knew how to love somebody correctly. From day one of being in a relationship, of any relationship, I've never known how to love somebody correctly.
So, stemming off of that, when you first told somebody you ever loved them and like you believed it, did you know anything about love languages? Because I didn't.
I didn't know anything about love languages, but I also didn't know what this world is when I first said I love you to the first person I said it to. I had no idea what this world is capable of, how much it could take you if you allow it to take you. And that's what happened to me. You know, I allowed this world to really swallow me up for real. Like, you know, I'm telling somebody I love them, and did I feel it in a moment? Of course. But I didn't know how to love them, because the first moment I got a taste of something that was more my speed at the time, I took off with that. And I didn't want to let this go. So I have both of you. And you know what happens with that? Then you have nothing. And then after you have nothing, it's like, oh, I want to heal. I want to get right. I want to do this. And then somebody else comes along, just like you were saying, I want to hear this and feel it. They pick you up. And now you're into this, not healed from the last. You're dragging pieces from the last into the new. Yeah. Now the new gets more toxic. The new gets, because you brought that toxicity. Now you get out of a ball of fire. You find somebody that you actually care about, and you want to do it the right way, the complete right way, but you don't know how to. You know why? Because you carried all of the past stuff with you. You carried all of the hate. You carried all of the insecurity. You carried all of that stuff into the new one, and the new one could have been everything for you. And you decided, I didn't want to heal first. I didn't really, are we always 100% healed? No, but I didn't want to heal first to a point where I have enough mental maturity and emotional maturity to handle somebody. That's the thing, is a lot of us don't have emotional maturity and mental maturity. We're sitting here and I want my girl to like football. She don't like football. Yeah. So go hang out with your friends, or go hang out with somebody that like football. Give her a space. And her saying, I want him to like Love is Blind on Netflix. And he don't want to sit there and watch it. Yep. Go talk to your girls, enjoy your space in that time. Yeah. You know, there's nothing wrong with doing stuff together, but those little things are what, oh, girl, you know what? Oh, bro, she's doesn't stop. I want to play my video game for an hour with my homies. Yeah. She's on my back on it. You know what I'm saying? And those little things rupture to a higher point where now, if you, again, aren't healed, you then cheat. And me, I cheated a lot. I cheated a lot, a ton. And when you feel that back, or you feel what could be a cheat or something back to you, it makes you realize, like, wow, I can't believe what I put that last person through.
So now, your element of cheating, was it because you were chasing that through that you love that feeling of? Or was it more like, I'm broken and I need something warm to catch me every time I get like blown around into the wind?
Yeah, I think for me it was, I was chasing what I thought I was chasing, but I was broken. I was completely broken because I was just running around not knowing really what I really desired or what I wanted. So that's why I say, even now, at the age I'm at now, I know what I want now. I know what I desire now. But there's still past stuff that wants to creep its way back in and pushes, I would call it in moments, to have me, and which I know is a bad decision. And I think also bringing it now where I'm trying to get closer to God, you almost sometimes feel ashamed that you've done that, because you're like, man, like, I know God forgives, and I'm saying, forgive me for this, but you almost feel ashamed. Like, I shouldn't be doing this, and I know I shouldn't be doing this, but it's making me feel good for this second. And when you live like that, but you live like that 24/7, it's destructive. And it can be destructive even if you live for a moment, because listen, how many people in relationships that they do one thing for a moment, and that one moment may have been that one moment, but now they can't change it because they get caught. Anything like that happens and they can't change it. So it's like, listen,
it becomes part of their identity in that sense. Like, they're gonna be seen as that way. It's like, you might as well do it.
Right.
Like, if you a cheater. You always, once a cheater, always a cheater. And you're like, well, damn, if that's how you're going to see me no matter when I'm doing good and you in your absence, I might as well just be what you see me as. I might as well be what everybody see me as. It's not a good way to do it. It's something that you probably got to talk to an elder in your family to kind of like walk you through. Like, how am I supposed to get through these struggles? Society's seeing me one way. I don't believe in that. I want to do better. I want to be different because I want to feel different. I don't want to recycle the same energy that keep hurting. I walk this path many ways, and I'm still hurting right now. It's like, how do I really find an option or a method to stop this cycle. And I mean, that's why a lot of times, like, I always remain a student. So I talk to older people who've been through it. I was like, why are you in your third marriage but happier than ever? Why are you, why have you never been married? Why have you never had children? Like, why did you walk this path? And what was your source of happiness? And at what points through life did you really like, damn, I hit rock bottom, or I was Himalayan mountain high. Like I was doing great things, and sometimes things downward spiral. And it's not always like choices that you made. It just could be situations that you get caught up in. I feel like when you kept on mentioning that the soulmate thing, when I speak about like the whole soulmate and like God and how the universe works, I feel like it's just a flow of energies. So it's like maybe there's multiple lifetimes that you experience that you can't remember, of course, because you're only one vessel, one flesh at a time. But there's probably particles of you that just go through space and time and link up again because the magnets are there, the things that just line up. So maybe you had a past life and that person was yours and you was doing good and everything was great. You guys pass next life cycle, meet again in this one, and people are saying, "Oh, you didn't meet that person yet." Maybe you did, because you can't change that chemistry. Like if you feel it, you feel it. It's there. It's real. No matter who is better, no matter if there's multiple, like that one person is always gonna stick out. And if you didn't hold on to them, maybe that means you weren't supposed to now. But that doesn't mean you'll never have them again if that cycle of energy meets in another timeline.
Right, and that's again that's where like the thought of, I want to say flesh, an earthly idea, and then the Bible idea is a thing that you fight as well. Because for me, it's like sometimes I think maybe it's just the wrong time. When I say the wrong time, like maybe just the wrong age. Like the age when we met, the timing. Like my son was too young. Like what if he was now? Like those things. You let those things creep into your head, right? You allow those things to creep into your head, and you ask yourself. And the thing about it is there's then this art of letting go. The art of letting go is hard, man. It's hard. Whether it's friendship, relationship, or somebody passes. The art of letting go is extremely hard. You have to take it with grace because you're going to get stripped of something. Sometimes it's immediate. Sometimes it dies over time. But the one thing about the art of letting go, man, is it does have its pros, for sure. But it's going to come with a lot of cons. And you got to be able to, like you said, there's no distraction, so the waves just keep hitting. You have to be able to handle those waves. At a point in my life, I was not able to handle those waves. I would get hit by the wave, and, we used to call, we still do, but with my therapy, we would say being in the mud.
Okay.
I used to just get knocked right back into the mud. Just get knocked right back into the mud. I'm doing good, I'm on this road, boom. Knocked back into the mud. Some of it was me. But then there was also reminders. That's another thing. Is in life you're always gonna have a reminder. There's gonna be music. Music is one of the biggest powerful things of this earth, in my opinion. You can hear a song from 2015 and place yourself right back to where you was in 2015.
Yeah.
You could relationship, friendship, moment in time. You can see it all.
It's like a root for nostalgia.
Exactly. So it's nostalgic to you, but that is where the emotions come in. That is where the thought. That's where the desire. That's where I miss. I want. Dang, this was the best time of my life. And that's where now I'm working on saying that was a time in my life, but the best time of my life is yet to come. Yeah. I'm in the best time of my life, and I'm going to continue to move forward. One of the hardest things I think for people is truly understanding that was just a season. Even in your good season, that's just a season. And like Pastor Stephen has said, and how he's told the Bible, it goes in circles. The bad comes back around. Then the good comes. So it's really about cycles, man. And I don't know about you, but do you ever see like when you're in general, like with life, and you're just looking at it, do you see you kind of just stay on the road and you don't really feel flat? Or do you see yourself get flat sometimes, maybe by random or maybe just by decisions?
I feel like the plateau effect always comes down to comfort. People would often state that once you get uncomfortable, then things are either slowing down, not moving, or that incline is just too steep, and then you feel like it's just gonna take everything to get there. And I kind of remind myself that nothing's forever. No matter how long you try to grasp it, it could be the greatest feeling, greatest time, greatest taste, greatest song. It will not last forever. It's not designed to. That's just not how it works. No matter how bad a trauma may be, a pain, broken limb, a burn, like whatever it may be, that's just, you're always going to remember that pain. It's not going to be forever. I often find the plateaus where it's like you reach a level of success and people say they're proud of you, but you yourself aren't satisfied. And you sit there saying, how do I progress? How do I do something different? How do I help anybody else? Maybe if I don't need to progress forward, I can help somebody else progress forward. Maybe if it takes me loaning that person enough money to buy a car so they could work better, establish themselves, go to school, whatever they got to do, and do better for their lives so I could feel better. Maybe I cycled some good energy in the universe, and then you see it come to fruition, whatever dreams they had and aspirations, and you're like, oh, that feels great. But then, you're sitting there and you're thinking again, like, what am I going to do? Like, what am I supposed to do? Now, especially if you reach where you wanted to be, because some people want to be, on a podcast. Some people want to own a podcast. Some people want to own buildings that run podcasts. And you get to that point, and it's just like, do I reminisce off of my accolades and say, oh, I've done great, I've done enough? And honestly, it's like, I feel like no. I feel like you got to keep on going forward and figuring out what makes you feel that sense of purpose without somebody gifting that acknowledgement to you.
I think fatigue is a word I like to use a lot. Fatigue faith and fatigue drive. Two different things, but play a huge part together.
Yeah.
Fatigue faith for people that are believers. It's one of these things that you trust God until he's not showing you enough.
Mm-hmm.
You are trusting, God is telling you to save your money, put it in this, and that's it. Let it grow and continue to do what you're doing and hustle and do what you got to do. But it's not happening fast enough for you. So you heard about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You're going to throw it in Bitcoin because you personally feel it's in your best interest to do that. Mm-hmm. That's when I say fatigue faith, that's what I mean, is the trust in God only to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. Only to a certain extent. Like, Lord, I'm not getting anything that my peoples are getting. They all have girlfriends. They all have good jobs. I'm not getting any of that. Mm-hmm. And that can truly just be because you're lazy and you don't chase and you're not looking.
You're looking to blame
and that's
somebody.
why I'm saying fatigue drive is because with the fatigue faith can make you lazy, can make you not desire what you want to desire, can make you truly stagnant. So an example for me is sometimes going out, and I think me and you have actually had this conversation in a bar, I believe at recently or somewhat recently, but I was telling you, I was like, the way I used to go out, the way I used to look at going out it was my decision on what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. It wasn't about faith and none of that. It was pure ego and pride. So when I stepped in a room, didn't matter if Michael B. Jordan was in that room. I thought I could do it. I still thought I could bag whoever he bagged, right? Yeah. I had this chest up, chest out. Now some people love that aura. Like some people enjoy that. Like they see that, they feel that, and it's cool. But that's not sustainable. And then, once going through what I've gone through and tearing down the ego, tearing down pride, I now have to go out with just me. And I have to have faith that somebody's going to show up in front of me. But as they show up in front of me, I still have to have the drive to go get it. I still have to have the confidence to go get it. And sometimes ripping away pride and ripping away ego, your confidence can tremble down.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm still a confident person. But my confidence doesn't overhaul. You get what I'm saying? It's not it's not going above the cup and pouring out.
Yeah.
And I need to start living with a new faith. Well, not the same faith, but with real faith. not fatigue. And honestly, when I talk about the struggles that I talked about earlier, is really having a new heart, because your heart is really what you're feeling when you're like, ah,
So,
why'd I do that?
so you looking to like reprogram yourself to avoid general disappointment?
I would say reprogram myself to live the way that I truly see myself living, not the way I want myself to live. I see myself living what I'm putting out, right? What I'm putting out, what I'm showing people, that's always genuine. It's always me. Doing Bible study is always me. But people that believe, sometimes people believe, pastors or people that do Bible study, not that they're perfect, but they don't have these trials and tribulations. Pastors have it. Trials and tribulations, even while they're pastoring. You know, um, People that doing Bible study have it. I'm not running from it. That's something that I did for a long time. I was just running. Do I think it's to fill, do I think right now the struggle is I'm trying to fill spots of emptiness? It could be. That's something I still am learning. But I need to fill those emptiness with faith. That's the thing. Is faith's got to play a big role.
Yeah.
Like that has to play a big role, and I gotta continue to have that drive, and something will present itself when God's ready to present it.
It will become habitual when you try to fill voids with distractions, and it becomes easy because people will give you everything. They'll give you all the baggage and issues, and really take your time and really confuse you into some sort of manipulation. It's like, oh, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. What was me? What was me? And you're just like taking it. You're not holding on to it. You're just like, I'm gonna throw it in this void. It's filling time. It's filling gaps. I ain't gotta worry about myself because I'm just dealing with this person. When that person's exhausted from confiding in you and giving everything to you, and you're just like, all right, cool. Is there any more? They're like, no, thank you. I really appreciate you listening, and you're always a good listener and whatever. And then they go and try to go back into the world and do whatever they're doing. And kind of like how you were before saying, like you're just like fishing, reeling them in, and then holding them at that point and just kind of like waiting to see, like what is this really giving me? And if it's not, you're just like, I'm gonna cast you back out. I'm gonna keep chilling, doing my thing.
Right. And I don't think there's anything wrong with people. What I'm describing is not what I'm trying to say when I say people deserve to go date. People deserve to absolutely go see what's out there. There's nothing wrong with that. Go date, go see what's out there. Like there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm describing is a little bit more detailed and more deep within having our own sense of understanding of what you really want and what you're doing it for. Going out and dating, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, and that's what it should be. You want to find that person. What's one thing, before we get out of here, what's one thing and one narrative that is said about you that sometimes gets under your skin?
Said about me.
And if you want me to go first, I can, because you already know I had said it a little earlier.
Yeah.
You want me to go first?
So a narrative about me was that I was a Playboy player. And the issues that came with that was it was none of my intent to be that guy, to be a womanizer, to be Casanova, Romeo. I wasn't into that element of trying to like tricks people into like liking me based off of what I was into. I honestly was just into writing, into poetry, into just making people feel better about themselves without having to ask for it and not giving anything in return for it. So it was more so me reaching out and just learning how to communicate in my way, in the creative standpoint, and not gain anything from it. And of course, you being nice enough to certain people who aren't used to things, they're gonna want to advance. They're gonna want more from you. They're gonna want your attention. They're gonna make it seem like they're the only person in the world and that they're special to you. And I felt it as just an expressive art form that was just like, I want to be nice to you, not because it's hard or because it gives me anything. I just felt like some people need to hear some good stuff. Some people need to be out there on Valentine's Day, handed a flower for no reason, and you ain't got to do nothing for it. So you looking beautiful today. Here it is. Boom. What's your name? I can write whatever down and then give it to them. And they're like, oh my God, that was so nice. And I was like, That's it. I know nothing about you. I just seen you, thought you was pretty. I just wanted to make your day, make you feel better about the situation. But then people think, oh, you're just trying to smash whoever or talk to whoever, and everybody sees that you're doing this to everybody. I'm like, but everybody deserves that kind of like affirmation. But when you're younger, it's like, nobody's giving out affirmation for free. You got to be with somebody to do that. And I don't believe in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, don't associate me with what you think he did to you or
Right.
any of that, sense of comparing. I was like, I just feel like being nice to people feels way easier than judging and talking shit and, being prejudiced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a narrative, like I said, the narrative for me earlier was, Pat would do anything with anybody. Pat would talk to anybody as long as they do this. To me, I can understand where people come from with that when you talk to a lot of people or you've been in DMs of this person or that person or they know multiple people that you've been in. It becomes that narrative. So I understand it. Do I believe in it? No. I mean, I always say, I joke, but I don't joke. And this goes back to the ego things. It's just things I remembered of saying is that every man has a hurt body. When I say that, I mean slept with somebody that everybody be like, oh, what? Like, why did you even, everybody's got that. Males don't have to admit that, but every male's got at least one. And then ego, pride is like, there was things where I would say, my top five joints that I've ever been with can go up against anybody on this planet. That's how I feel. That's ego talking. That's pride talking. Now, were they beautiful? Yeah. But who am I to say that, right? But this narrative of he talks to anybody, he'll do anything with anybody, it's not true. I mean, for me, there's been times, even of recent, where I've stopped myself from even talking to this person or that person or going to this person's house or sleeping with this person or any of that because I'm like, no, it's wrong. So I think the narrative, like I said, it will drag on. It will be something that will be said, it will be said to girls in the future, I'm sure, if they're known here, it'll be said, did you know Pat used to, or Pat is this, or Pat is that. The one thing about it that, with talking to women or just being in general is I'm smooth with words. I know what to say, when to say it. But I don't want to say sometimes I mean it, but when I do mean it, again, it's a narrative. Well, you just so smooth, like you a player. You smooth, you a player. Is it fair? Not really. It's not fair. But I understand where it comes from. But I think that narrative that's built sometimes does, like when certain people say it, certain people that you respect or when they say it, it's like, come on, man.
You hit a nerve.
Yeah, come on, man. That's not even true. Like you don't see all the work and you don't see, as I've explained earlier, you don't understand the struggle that I deal with because it's not your struggle. And that narrative gets laced into that, and that's fine. I get it's tied in, it's knitted in, but that narrative is something that sometimes I be wanting to break, but then again, you can't always help what people think of you. You can't help what people always are going to say about you. People going to see you, and they're going to think of you some way, and then other people going to love you, adore you, and appreciate who you are, and understand, even the people that are close like this, understand that, he goes through real struggle, real pain.
Not to laugh, but we completely forgot to talk about how if third party that you hear that somebody that you're interested in says, oh, he's not my type, and they have never spoken to you.
Yes,
never,
that's a good one.
Never heard anything. May have heard, background, whatever, third party. But they look at you, they give you 10 seconds, 30 seconds of attention, or even do a photo, I'm like, not my type.
Right.
But you single. So I'm like,
well,
it really kind of confuses me in a sense. It's like sometimes single's a choice, sometimes single's a situation,
right.
But it's still a choice. And if you had your type or types, it's like, how do you know that person that you're looking at is not preference? I get,
right,
but type is like,
and that's the thing is preference. So it's a great point. And it's something I've dealt with. I mean, like I've always told you. And like when I used to go out, man, I was like the only white boy in spots that I was in. So my chances weren't that high. at the end of the day. And I'm not the most handsome person on the block, the 6'6", the poster child of this is what handsome people look like.
But
Or
you clean cut and take
right,
care of yourself.
right. But my point is that I shoot high. When I shoot high. Whether people want to believe that or not, I shoot high. So I'm going after top-notch shit. So you got to be okay with rejection. That's the one thing is you got to be okay with rejection. A lot of people aren't. A lot of men aren't. You got to be okay with rejection. I'm cool. You can reject me, say, you're not my type, you're ugly. I'm going to be all right. I'm not your type, I'm ugly. But I respect that more than all the other BS that that you brought up. I respect it more.
At least
You're just
reject.
not my preference. I don't want to get to know you because you're not what I see visually.
Which I can agree with. But
Right.
to say somebody's not your type without even talking to them,
And
that's
that's
just
the
a
thing.
battle
And
that's lost before you even try.
right. And that's the thing that I would always say. Once I get in the door, I'm kicking it open. All I need is that conversation that night to chill, that night to really kick it, and I'm kicking it open. Have I pulled some pretty women because of personality and really just like knew how to get into their mental? Yeah, for sure. There was women at first that were like, you really wasn't my type, but like you're sexier now because I know who you are. And that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's women that aren't as pretty as these women, but you hear some of these, not all, because I don't want to do that. You hear some of these women speak, and they ugly when they speak. They ugly, right?
Yes, it changes the whole dynamic.
Everything.
Because the presentation is just not
Everything.
what you really wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And the preference kind of like pulls you away. And
Pulls
just like,
out.
you was so damn gorgeous. And then you opened your mouth and said something that I just don't vibe with. I'm sorry.
Yep.
We could be friends, but not really.
And there's also a style, right? It's also a style when you want to date high, you have to know. Respectfully, I say this, and I've heard other people say it. You have to date in your bracket. There's a bracket. People may take this and not like the way it's said, but to me, you have to date in your bracket. Dating a pretty woman comes with a price. And I don't mean, and I've said this 1,000 times, I don't mean money price.
No, it's
It just comes
attention.
with a price, attention, mentally, physically. It comes with a price. Now,
They
can
may
you
not
handle
know.
it? For sure. But my point is that you should try to date in your bracket because, listen, I mean, they make, there's been lyrics on it, but some women like, some women be like, I like my man semi-ugly. What do you think they mean by that?
Crazy.
But what do you think they mean by that?
I guess.
What did Glorilla, when she said that, mixed with a little bit of ugly? What do you?
I think it's
Come on.
less competition.
Exactly.
Less to worry about.
Less to worry about.
But that goes down to preference.
Right.
Because their version of ugly could be somebody whose complexion is extremely darker than they're used to.
Right.
But to somebody else, that's like the best complexion they've ever seen in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it could be polar opposite kind of things. To say somebody ugly, I mean, it is what it is. Not everybody's preference. Not everybody is seen a certain way. But like, I wouldn't upright and be like, you're too ugly. You know what I mean? I'm gonna hear you out. I'm just a nice guy, I guess. I would hear somebody out. I'd find something about you that has to be like, nice. Not necessarily to date or whatever, but for the interaction to not be like, oh damn, this motherfucker's hideous. I can't look at them. I gotta get out of here. I'm gonna throw up. It would never be something like that for me. It'd be like, you say whatever you say, you give me compliments. I'm gonna give you compliments, but it has to be something on you that's nice. Something. Even if I don't like what I'm looking at, you got some pretty eyes. You got all your teeth. I appreciate you. Like, I like the way you talk to me. I like your hair. Like, I could throw something back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say, oh, you're not my type, and then keep it. I just feel like that's just so rude and it's wrong.
I just look at it as like there's a waterfall effect with all of that too.
Mm.
And when I say that is, in nowadays society, a lot of people can do a lot of things from behind a phone, behind a computer.
Yeah.
So a lot of these, I would say more men are willing to pay for the high-end stuff.
Oh,
thinking that they're going to be able to keep that, or thinking because they do that, they own you in a way because they paid for this or they've done this or they're giving you this. They own you, or they deserve something from you. Getting into that more deeply, I saw this with who was it? It was a shorty, one of the shorties that has a pod. She was saying a lot of these men nowadays that don't get ass and don't get stuff like that. They're ruining it for females and males that do. Thought it was interesting. Reason why I say that is because part of me agrees with that. Part of me agrees with these men that are sitting behind a computer cursing somebody out because they are not going or giving it to whatever that person that's writing on TikTok. When somebody goes live on TikTok or writes under these pretty 10 out of 10 girls Instagram things, and then stalking them and doing all these things, like, bro, it's true. It makes it weird for everybody that, not to joke, but anybody that is semi-ugly that may have a chance with this girl. It makes it weird. And that's why I say it's a waterfall effect, because as people are coming up and they're getting younger and they're more into the phone and it's more about that.
Yeah.
It's more in society now that you have to check off all these boxes. Nothing wrong with that. But some of these extra boxes they added is dangerous. It's almost like, what? Like, I need you to have some motion in order for me to be, because I got motion. And not motion of getting money, motion of getting views,
Status,
getting seen, status.
Okay.
Right? So status has become the new motion, where so many people are doing something. There's so many people on TikTok, bro. So many people on TikTok that we know nothing about. Me and you know nothing about. They have 7 million followers.
Very true.
Beautiful, not hating, but it's a completely different world from what we grew up in, early 2000s, where if you did something, for the most part, you were known. Unless you were a director behind the scenes or you were one of those people behind the scenes. But as far as influence and stuff like that, we knew who they were.
It's like the reputation supersedes the person.
Yes.
Amplifies it.
Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to say. So now all this is being amplified, and you got all these people that do sit at home and are scared to come out, and now it's becoming a societal issue, because you do have men that want to have sex or want to feel loved, who want to hear I'm handsome. And they may be not handsome, or whatever the case may be, or may not be socially there. And now it's just beginning a waterfall effect on everybody else in society. So that's why when I heard that, I was like, I don't really agree. But then the more I thought about it, I said, I could see parts to what she said.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But it's what she said, I mean, that it does hold a strong impact, because we were talking about, I was talking about how, you learn about what you look like early on. And if you're in a relationship, like I mentioned before, that you're not hearing that anymore, it's like, how are you really supposed to believe in it? So the compliments are going to kind of be awkward for you. Not even for you to give them out, but for you to believe them. Because you could tell a girl she's pretty a million times. It took that one guy in 7th grade to say you're ugly because you got one eye bigger than the other. She's going to remember that guy. He's going to stand out in her world way heavier than you trying to convince her that to you, she is the most beautiful or the most, astonishing thing, like girl you ever, or face, whatever you ever seen. So it's kind of hard to also believe people when they say what they're saying, what they're trying to say.
Yes.
For people like you, smooth.
I was gonna say it goes exactly back to that.
Yeah.
I think this episode is very beneficial for people. I think it would definitely help. I think people will relate from both sides. I appreciate you again for being here. Anybody that doesn't know Adam, he is a big reason on why we are moving in the direction that we are moving. He's also the muscle, and I know y'all will see that on the camera, so be careful. 2 announcements. Well, first, I want to say thank you, bro.
Yep.
I want to also make 2 announcements on behalf of Culture Shock. So Wednesday nights starting, I haven't decided the date yet, but Wednesday nights soon. We had the first season of Bible study, Ecclesiastes. We went through the whole Ecclesiastes. So I would love to start a group. I want to start a Bible study group with people that were in there, people that maybe have came late or want to be a part of it. So we will still be doing things on StreamYard. I haven't decided yet if I will post the actual meetings with us, but we're doing stuff on StreamYard. If you're interested, I will send you the link. I will also post it, obviously, on the stories. What else? And with that, as I'm saying that, people, you will be able to join, talk. We can really discuss all 12 weeks and maybe even go into something new before Pastor Stephen comes back for season 2. And then lastly, obviously everybody's heard in the news, Chris Brown. Chris Brown got arrested, yada, yada, yada. Obviously he'll probably be out. So with that being said, We still August 13th. Our big promotion is getting 2 people to go to MetLife in New Jersey, a raffle, $25 entry. You have up to 5 spots. We really want to get it cooking, get it rolling. I think it's a beautiful thing. If you're a smart business person, you'll think outside the box on this. But we really think that it's a great opportunity for people to miss a show, for it to see a show, that I could personally tell you is one of a kind. So we really want you to check out the Instagram. You'll be able to purchase a raffle ticket from there. Also on our website, cultureshockny.net. Make sure you go on there. You could also grab a ticket from there or multiple tickets, depending on what you're looking for. With that being said, though, Adam, thank you, bro.
Yep.
I appreciate you for being here. It's always a blessing. And there's more to come, more to see. And yeah, just expect more. With that being said, though, it's another episode of Culture Shock Podcast. We out of here.